This is Reverend Valerie Love coming at you from my beautiful home in Mexico. And tonight we're talking all about crystals. It's all about crystals. Crystals in the Bible. So this is part of the Forbidden Knowledge series. And like I said at the beginning of every Forbidden Knowledge video, it's not that the knowledge cannot be known. It's a knowledge that is not typically widely taught in churches, or it's hidden knowledge, or it's knowledge that people really don't want you to have, because if you did have this knowledge, you would comport yourself in a different way. So tonight we're talking about crystals in the Bible. So if you watched part one of this vid, which I'm gonna link up below, if you watch part one of this vid, I'm gonna link it up and I'm gonna link it below too. It'll be linked. If you watch part one of this vid, then you know the 23 crystals that are in the Bible. So now let's go into what are these crystals about? What were they used for? Why are we even talking about crystals in the Bible? Well, you are on Christian Witches, and I am a practicing Christian witch. And what is that? That's simply a witch. I'm a born witch, a witch who is anchored in Christ consciousness and does not follow, I'm not Christian in that I follow a religion. I'm Christian in that I am seeking to be Christ-like, and that is a big difference. So as far as I can see, Christian Witches is not a religion, it's a spiritual path. And like all spiritual paths, it is walked individually by each person. I am not here to give you how you should do Christian witchcraft, because that is completely up to you. And witches, we all have our own minds. Witches, wizards, warlocks, magical beings of all kinds. We have our own minds. We are very headstrong kind of beings. We have straight backs, and we don't do well with people telling us what to do, right? So rest assured, your sister is not here trying to tell you what to do. I'm offering you what I've learned on my journey, and you can take it as you like and integrate it into your practice if there is what we call resonance. We love resonance. So if there's resonance for you with any of the things I'm talking about, go right ahead and use them. So now, Christian witches sometimes gets a lot of flack from Christians because, well, truth be told, many Christians are ignorant of their own faith, and many Christians are ignorant of the Bible because they just don't read the Bible. They read the scripture that the pastor tells them to read on Sunday morning. Not many Christians deeply read and study the Bible, which I'm really happy when I do see Christians that go to Wednesday night, Bible study and really study the Bible. It's a beautiful thing. So now let me give you a little bit of context. As a Christian witch, as practicing Christian witch, I work with the Bible, magic of the Bible, and angels, angel magic. And I also work with different books, not simply the canon as it's given to us as 66 books. So if you want to know some of the books that I also study and read and talk about a lot in the Christian Witches community, global Christian Witches community, and on this website, Christian Witches, on the Christian Witches YouTube channel, on Valerie Love YouTube channel, I talk about these books of the Bible a lot. And these are what is called the Apocrypha and the Pseudepigrapha. So if you go to pseudepigrapha.com, P-S-E-U or U-E, D-I, pseudepigrapha. I'll link it below. If you go to pseudepigrapha.com, you're going to see many of the books of the Bible that were either left out or omitted or just weren't, they didn't want you to read them. And I understand the saying that if you want to hide something from the masses, put it in a book. So I would recommend, for me, if they tell me don't read something, I go straight to it and read it. So whatever you are drawn to, you're being drawn to it for a reason. There's resonance there. That's your soul saying, go this way. It's a pull, it's a draw. I write about it in the books. By the way, if you don't have the books, please pick them up at christianwitches.com, especially the 4-book series so far on Christian witchcraft. And a new book in the series will be coming out soon on crystals for the Christian witch. So let's talk about, so I give you that background about Christian witchcraft, what it is, what kind of books I look at and study. and also where you can find out more about Christian witchcraft. Now let's dive into the crystals. So there are two big examples we're going to just dive deeper into of crystals in the Bible, and both of these came from above. These two examples I'm going to give you, they came from above, which means what? One is in the book of Exodus. Exodus chapter 28 is a command or is instructions from source, also known as God, right? Instructions from source on how to create the breastplate of judgment. That's what it's called. Breastplate of Judgment is also called the breastplate of decision making. I'll tell you why in a moment. The breastplate for Aaron, who was the very first high priest in the Bible, and all the other high priests come from his lineage, right? So all the other high priests in the 12 tribes of Israel come from Aaron. So Aaron was the very first high priest and the brother of Moses. And you may know, of course, of the stories, the incredible stories, which when we read the Bible, we understand the Bible is metaphorical, it's allegory, it's metaphor, it's allegory, it's mysticism, it's quantum physics, it's energy, it's prophetic, it's symbolic, it's magical, it's all these things. What it's not for me is completely literal. It's just not a completely literal book for me, nor is it a history book. I'm not looking at the Bible to try to figure out history. I don't use it for that. I use it to enhance magic as a means to spiritual enlightenment, doing the great work, as it's called in the Golden Dawn. So let's look at this breastplate. So in order to really understand this, you can read Exodus chapter 28 if you desire, because I'm going to show you sort of a grid of what these crystals look like. So God is giving Aaron the complete instructions on the vestments that he is to wear. Wow, the door is starting to move. We love when that happens, don't we? It's just moving on its own. Okay. Thank you, spirits, and the ancestors are in here just doing all kinds of things. I have a lot of spirits around me. It's beautiful. So what God is doing is God is giving Aaron this Levite tribe, the priestly tribe. He is giving the instructions for how the temple is to be set up, how the high priest is to be clothed, and how the high priest is to conduct the spiritual business of the temple. That's what the high priest is there for, right? He is there as the energetic in-between space. He's the liminal space between the people, earth, matter, and celestial realms, God, the angels. So this in-between being, whom many people are in-between beings. Witches are in-between beings. Mediums are in-between beings. Psychics are in-between beings. They're in this liminal space between the material and the ethereal. Okay? Hanging out right there in that liminal space. So because he is this being that's hanging out in this liminal space, he is going to have connection both with the people and with God. Right? He's surrendering, and I'm looking down and eyes closed because I bring my awareness to the heart, because now you're in connection with God. Now God is not up. God is directionless. Its sources everywhere at all times. But what we're talking about is higher consciousness, elevated in consciousness higher than my little human mind. So because he's in this liminal space, he requires, listen very carefully to this. This is mind-blowing. Thank you, Spirit. He requires tools and vestments that are both material and celestial. That's profound. What is both material and ethereal? Crystals. Precious metals like gold. So colors, because all of these have a vibration. So let's talk about it. So he was instructed. The instructions came from source, Exodus 28. And on this breastplate, there were 4 rows. And you can probably even pull up a picture of it if you look for it on the web. 4 rows, just like the 4 rows I have written out here. And it would be great to just grab a piece of paper, pull out your grimoire, your Christian Witch's grimoire, and just make this grid for yourself. Take a screenshot of this if you like. I'll hold it for a second so you can just screenshot it. I have my notes on here too. Now, this breastplate, 4 rows, 3 columns. What are the stones in these 3 columns? Well, here it is. And I hope this is not backwards, but this is the way it's written down. Ruby, which is also carnelian, or which is also sard. So we start off with a blood red stone. Now, of course, in the temple, red is a powerful color. All of these crystals are vibrating on these 4 colors: red, green, yellow, and blue. All of these crystals are vibrating on these 4 colors. So red, starting off, is blood. What does it symbolize? Life, energy. If your blood spills, you have a problem. Blood is also a connector to upper realms, and it's very magical because in blood, you seal the deal with blood. You seal the deal with, if you take your blood oath and initiation, you seal the deal with your own blood. If you, which could be menstrual blood or which could be blood procured in another way, there's ways to procure blood. And I won't talk about that right now because I certainly don't want anyone to hurt themselves at all. You be safe in all your magical practices. It's all in the book, How to Be a Christian Witch. And blood is also a binder. It buys a contract. So the first stone in this breastplate, and I'm going to tell you what was inside of it too. So we're just going step by step with this breastplate, is a bloodstone, red. Next we have topaz. Next we have emerald. So right across here, we've got the first row of crystals. Now this is what God said to wear. And I'm going to tell you why in a moment. The next row, turquoise, which could also have been malachite, which is a really beautiful green stone. I just freaking love me some malachite. I actually have a pendulum that's malachite. It is off the charts. We have the blue right here in the center, which is sapphire, which could also be lapis lazuli. And when you hear me say which could also be, if you look in different versions of the Bible, which I did in preparing for this for you, there are different crystals. So back in the day, the ancients did not have the same exact names for the same exact crystals that we have today. So we know over time meanings change, language changes, people change. And sometimes when we're trying to read the minds of the ancients that were using this, we don't always get it spot on because they could have called something an agate and we call it something else. So understand that when you look at different versions of the Bible, you're going to see different stones. Like you might see carnelian and ruby used interchangeably. You might see carnelian used interchangeably with sardis. And they're very similar stones, carnelian and ruby. They're both red right here. So understand that there's not going to be a rock solid, completely accurate rendering of each one of these stones and exactly which each one was, because we just don't have that exact information, because it could have been this and it could have been that. And you know, the scholars love to talk about it and I love listening to smart people. So What are you going to do about it? What you're going to do about it is you're going to get the energy and the understanding of it, and then you're going to do deep study and understand these crystals, and then you're going to create your own crystal grid. Okay, let's go further. The last one in the second row is a diamond, which also could have been a moonstone. Very interesting. This position stone is a jacinth or a hyacinth, which they also call a ligure or lugarez, Ligurus. I had never heard that word before until I started this research. The next stone is an agate. That's very simple, clear, easy to understand. The next stone is an amethyst. That's very easy to understand as well. The next stone down here is also a hyacinth, a chrysolite or beryl, right here. The next stone next to it is an onyx, which would have been black. So we can add black and white because the diamond up here, which also is a moonstone, this was some kind of a white stone, likely. And please do not write that in stone, because once again, different sources say different things. Even different Bibles say different things. Onyx and then jasper. Now, Spirit, God told them to order it exactly this way. So when you read the book of Exodus, literally it says, I'll read the verse to you from one of the versions of the Bible that I absolutely love. Let's bring it up. Which version of the verse do I want to read to you? I want to read to you the one that I just pulled up. It's on Bible Gateway. Okay, what version of the Bible is this? Names of God Bible. Now that Bible is under copyright, so let's read one that's not under copyright. A Bible that's not under copyright is the World English Bible. So let's go to the World English Bible, and we're going to read Exodus chapter 28. And this is verse, I think it's 18, somewhere around there. Let me get it for you. Okay, here it is. Exodus chapter 28, starting at verse 15. It's called the breastplate. So let's go to verse 15 talks about what the breastplate is supposed to look like, the colors. Then verse 16 talks about the size. Then 17, this is what it says. Fasten 4 rows of precious stones on it. 4 rows. In the first row, put red quartz, which we talked about, that red stone that it starts off, topaz and emerald. This is what it says in this particular Bible. In the second row, put turquoise, sapphire, and crystal, which could be diamond. In the third row, put hyacinth, agate, and amethyst. In the fourth row, put beryl, onyx, and gray quartz. Do you see the specificity with which God didn't just say, yeah, put 12 stones on there. No. The exact configuration is given because this is actually a spiritual instrument. They're not just making a vest. They're constructing an energy conduit, just like the Ark of the Covenant, pure gold. This was some sort of a battery. Okay, this is pure gold, an energy conduit, once again, touching the material and the ethereal. So, what are these stones representing? The 12 tribes of Israel. And each stone, engraved on the stone, was one of the houses of Israel. Is that profound? Okay, let's go further. We're not done yet. At the shoulders were 2 onyx crystals. And on one onyx crystal were the 6 tribes of Israel. And on the other onyx crystal, engraved on an onyx, were the other 6 tribes of Israel on the shoulders. So you have on the shoulders the 2 onyx stones. This man is loaded with crystals going into the temple, basically. The bottom line of this is he was loaded up. So you got these crystals up here and crystals here. A crystal grid on his chest. And what does it say? It says that when you walk into the temple, the sons of Israel, all the entire Israel, this is really some really powerful practical magic. The whole Israelite nation is right here on your chest. This grid could represent millions of people. You could do it right now to uplift humanity. You could make a grid that you wear into your temple and make one be for black people, one be for white people, one be for yellow people, Asian people, one be for brown people, one be for red people, one be for the aliens, put the aliens in because they're walking among us, right? You could make a grid right now. You can make one with children, all the children of the world, all the mothers of the world, fathers of the world, the days of the world. You can make one for LGBTQIA, people who are somehow having challenges like autism, and you could make this crystal grid be anything you want. Therefore, when you walk into it, it says it in the Bible. That means that whenever Aaron came into the presence of God, he had this over his heart. In this breastplate, what was inside of it? Inside of it were the Urim and the Thummim. Now, I hope I'm saying that right because I don't speak Hebrew and I don't want to butcher it. I want to be honorable and respectful. So what was this? This was some type of decision-making tool to these 2 possible kind of perhaps lots. Maybe something similar to like a geomancy where you cast and you get something and you make a note. You cast again, you get something. You cast again until you make a grid and you can see the clear answer. Maybe something like geomancy. So that's KAISI's take on it. That's not what the scholars say. Okay, so the Urim and the Thummim, these 2 were the decision-making tools. This is the judging tool that was put inside of the breastplate. So now you have the heart chakra, you have the Urim and Thummim inside the breastplate. On the outside of the breastplate, you have the crystal grid, and you have the crystal grid inlaid with gold. Now, if that's not a super duper powered, magical, mystical, energetic tool, I don't know what is. Super powerful. Let's go deeper. So we said we were going to look at 2 specific examples. So that's the first one of crystals in the Bible. Because a lot of times Christians like to say, oh, no, don't mess with that. Because the devil. First of all, there's no such thing as a devil. That's a construct. I'll do another video about that. Who made up the devil? Where did it come from? Because it's not from the Bible. It's not from God. And next of all, it's not the devil if God told you to do it. And third of all, they may say, these are just possible things that they may say to you. Well, we don't do that anymore. Well, if you don't do that anymore, then you're still running around with that scripture, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live, and that's in Deuteronomy. So you got to pick one. You got to pick a side. Either you do it or you don't do it. If you don't do it, then throw out the whole Old Testament. You don't do it. If you do it, then you do it. You can't have these twos. You can't have it both ways. Because they love to whip out that Deuteronomy scripture. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live, blah, blah, blah. They love to whip out that scripture. But they don't like, in that same chapter of Deuteronomy, they don't like to whip out the verse that says, if your kid is bad, stone him to death. We're not doing that. So I don't think that these things are literal. All right. That's my rant on that. So this is a conversation simply for enlightenment. What is my intention? My intention is clear: education. For us to simply have a conversation about it, to open our minds, to expand our awareness, and ultimately for the evolution of humanity, for our ascension. Let's go now to my next favorite part of crystals in the Bible. Now we're going to skip from Exodus all the way to Revelation. And in Revelation, we sort of see a stair step here. So what is this? It's a stair step of crystals. So in the first instance, we have a grid of crystals, 12. By the way, of course, all of you already picked it up because you're so super intuitive and into astrology. You know, 12 tribes of Israel, 12 apostles, 12 constellations, right? 12 signs of the zodiac. This is all, we'll look at the movie Zeitgeist. This is all throughout the Bible. 12, 12, 12. It means something. So you already picked that up. Good for you. I didn't even have to say it. Now, let's go to Revelation chapter 21. And what's in Revelation chapter 21 is a very fascinating scene where an angel is measuring the New Jerusalem, the city. And it's very fascinating because the city is exactly a cube. It's exactly a cube. It's so fascinating. But we're not going into the measurements right now. We're going into the crystals because this conversation is about crystals and I got to stay on track. But that thing is so intriguing. You know, we're going to be talking about that in the coming up episode. All right, so let's talk about this crystal foundation of the New Jerusalem, the city. Here it says that there's 12 gates. There goes 12 again. 12 pearls, a pearl in each gate. Pearls are held in very high esteem. Why? Because one little grain of sand stuck inside of a clam, and that clam being irritated by that pearl and continuing to wrap it and wrap it and wrap it and wrap it, irritation causes a pearl, right? According to the story that we've been told. And then you have this pristine pearl of very high value from something that was like an irritation. Pearls denote beauty, wisdom, much like rubies. Rubies in the Bible denote beauty, wisdom, and pearls is right with it. Pearls is this just beautiful, kind spirit, maybe a mother's spirit even. Pearls. So 12 gates in New Jerusalem in the Bible. This is an angel telling you what New Jerusalem looks like. New Jerusalem is built on crystals. Now, I don't know if they ever taught you this in church. New Jerusalem in Revelation is built on 12 stairs of crystals. Let's talk about it. It says it in Revelation chapter 21. Read it for yourself. Don't believe what I say just because I say it. The first level of the foundation, jasper. The second level of the foundation, sapphire. The third level of the foundation, agate. Don't you love it already? Don't you just freaking love it already? The fourth level, so we're up to agate, the third. The fourth foundation, emerald. The fifth, onyx. The sixth foundation, ruby. And I'm going to tell you how this all comes together in a moment. The seventh, chrysolite. The eighth, beryl, B-E-R-Y-L. The ninth, topaz. The 10th, turquoise. The 11th, jacinth, also known as hyacinth, as we spoke of earlier. The 12th, amethyst. You're talking about a 12-tier, 12, once again, the 12 constellations. This is all magic. It's right in the Bible. It's right in Revelation. All we got to do is read it. And I'm not telling you what to make of it when you read it. I'm simply telling you what's in there. Now, you'll have to make of it what you will by prayer and asking the Holy Spirit within you to give you what they call in Christianity a rhema word, right? You have to come to your own conclusions about that. This conversation is about awareness that crystals are all up and through the Bible, dozens of them, different crystals, color coordinated, in configurations for spiritual purposes, and it's all laid out, the formula. There's formulas to it. It's not just random. It's so specific. So this formula in Revelation 21, we have this increasing energy system. So in the other one, we had a grid. Now we have some more of like stairs. Couldn't you create that? Couldn't you create layers? I'm gonna, watch me create all this stuff in my sacred space. In my temple upstairs, I'm gonna be creating all of this with crystals, with the exact crystals, and I'm going to get as specific as I can with the crystals, because once again, not every crystal is exactly what, when you say Sardis, what is Sardis? Because that was a crystal I had never heard of until I started studying crystals in the Bible. And then I understood as I dig deeper into it, it's carnelian. So you may not, or it could possibly be referring to ruby as well. So if you see Sardis, you might want to get a carnelian or a ruby. Of course, carnelian is going to be in your crystal shop. Ruby is probably not, right? Because ruby is a really precious metal and carnelian is more of a crystal. So I would feel very good going with the carnelian whenever you see Sardis or Sardius, S-A-R-D-I-U-S, because that's sort of what that is. Now, let's end with this. If you look there are many other instances of crystals in the Bible. Of course, when the Queen of Sheba came to see Solomon, she brought him many, many, many gifts, gold, precious metals, and of course, precious stones. So if you go into the Bible, I'll give you a few scriptures. You just jot them down in your Christian witchcraft grimoire. Ezekiel chapter 27, verse 16. Solomon chapter 5, verse 14. Solomon, Song of Solomon. That must be Song of Solomon, because there's no book called Solomon. That must be Song of Solomon. In my notes, I'm writing, and I see Solomon 5:14. That don't make sense. But anyway, that's probably Song of Solomon. Isaiah chapter 54, verse 11 and 12. Look that one up. Lamentations chapter 4, verse 7. Revelation chapter 4, verse 3. And then we have Revelation chapter 21, which we just went into. And if you look at Ezekiel 28:13, there is a charge or this word against the king of Tyre, T-Y-R-E, this ancient kingdom, right? And this king supposedly thought he was better than God. He had all this riches and wealth, and he had just accomplished so much that he thought that he was the shit. And God was like, well, maybe not. So it was sort of a humbling lesson from the universe. When we get a little too big for our britches and we don't instill humility in our success, then pride and arrogance gets us. That's what that's sort of a metaphor for, that pride before a crash, and that pride and arrogance can destroy us. And we will not let that happen. We will not. Our safeguard is humility, that no matter how much you accomplish, no matter how much wealth you created, success, and created all, that you still are humble. Still be humble, right? And humble doesn't mean little, mild, meek, and just walking around letting everybody step over you. Humble is that I don't have to brag, and I don't have to be arrogant, and I don't have to think that I'm better than anyone else, because I'm not. Humble, hum, H-U-M. It means, hum means of the earth. So humble means you're well grounded, you're of the earth, you're standing on solid ground. You're not too flighty, like Icarus flew too close to the sun and womp. We know what happened, destruction. So go high. You want to be like a tree. Go high and be rooted. 40-foot oak tree, straight up into the air, shoot straight up, go supernova, ballistic, and at the same time be rooted into the ground, right? That way, you're good. That's our conversation on crystals in the Bible. I'm definitely going to do a workbook on this for the Christian Witch. But here's Spellcrafting for the Christian Witch. Pick it up. It's in paperback and hardcover. And then this is the Christian Witch's Manifesto, which is currently in paperback. It's definitely on ebook. And these are two of the books in the series. And the third the first book in this series is How to Be a Christian Witch. So pick that one up. Hot seller. Oh my God, just sells every day. I'm so thankful. So pick up How to Be a Christian Witch, and then Spellcrafting for the Christian Witch. The next series, and the next book in the series is called Magical Prayers for the Christian Witch. And that is for your new moon, full moon rituals, plus wealth prayers, plus prayers based on Psalms. So there you have your words of power in this book of magical prayers to use for your rituals. And I'm also creating a grimoire, and I'm also creating tarot deck for the Christian Witch, and tarot for the Christian Witch, where we're mapping all of the Bible character, where we're mapping all of the tarot cards to energetically to an energy in the Bible, including the pseudepigrapha beyond simply the 66 canonical books. It's gonna be delicious. So much coming up. It's gonna be delicious. You're gonna love it. I promise. I'm Reverend Valerie Love. This has been delicious. Catch up with me at ValerieLove.com. Come with us to one of our events. The Mystery School is in Sedona this fall. And if you're watching this past the fall of 2021, go to ChristianWitches.com right now or ValerieLove.com and look up what we have coming up so you can join us at the Mystery School. I love you. I wore this witchy thing today, this little witchy sort of thingy thing that I have on today, just because I felt like it's a great Witchy Wednesday because it's 555. I love you. God bless. Peace. KAISI out.